Boxing and blood can go hand in hand quite often. In fact, some of the greatest and most popular fighters of all time earned the title of Blood and Guts Warrior. They do so because of their willingness to lay it all on the line, to fight and bleed in order to secure the victory. There have been literally thousands of bloody fights in all of boxing history, and it's extremely difficult to select just 5 to highlight. But this is sure to spark a great deal of debate, discussion, and disagreement. Yet, here they are. Our top 5 bloodiest boxing fights of the past decade. At number 5, it's the fight between Paulie Malignaggi versus Pablo Cesar Cano. If you want to see a lot of blood, you've come to the insane match between Paulie versus Pablo. In the fight, Malignaggi cut the young fighter over the left eye, and it bled profusely from that point on until the final bell. It was absolutely stunning that Cano was able to see, much less keep fighting for that long. And if the referee or doctor would have stopped the contest, nobody would have objected. And what's even more impressive is that despite the cut, many felt Cano did enough to earn the decision win. However, he did not give up until the final bell. Next up at number 4, we have the fight between Rocky Marciano versus Ezzard Charles. Marciano, 46-0 at the time, hurt the Cincinnati Cobra with a big right in round 2 and scored a knockdown with his follow-up assault. However, Charles recovered quickly. While Marciano suffered a shocking and potentially fight-ending cut to his nose in round 6, he was largely dominant. Charles gamely returned strong fire. Another cut opened up around Marciano's left eye in the 7th, and his face was a mess. However, the blood had no effect on the champ's vision. He pounded his foe with a brutal volley of power shots and floored him again with another right in the 8th. Brave to the last, Charles rose to face the inevitable and ultimately succumbed to a brutal 6-punch combination finish.
Rocky Marciano!
At number 3, we have Jack Dempsey versus Jess Willard. The terrible beating Jack Dempsey gave Jess Willard is also a candidate, though there have been records unearthed that called into question whether that beating was as severe as everyone thought. Willard entered the ring thinking he would dispose of the much smaller Dempsey easily. Willard had claimed that this will be the easiest fight of my career. But in the fight, Dempsey's hook came at the end of a 4-punch combination, and upon impact the giant crashed to the floor. And in the last 95 seconds, Dempsey, who was wearing skin-tight 5-ounce gloves, inflicted horrific bone-busting punishment that would affect Willard for the rest of his life. Not only did Dempsey's first hook break Willard's jaw, the ensuing attack, which included 7 knockdowns, also reportedly produced multiple facial fractures, several broken ribs, and hearing loss in one ear. I guess Willard's easiest fight of my career line went in one ear and out the other for Dempsey. At number 2, we have Lennox Lewis versus Vitaly Klitschko. Before he made one half of the most dominant brother tandem in boxing history, Vitaly Klitschko was a contender who worked his way up the ranks. He got his first shot at a world championship against the recognized heavyweight champion Lennox Lewis in 2003. Klitschko dominated the early rounds, rocking Lewis with a series of shots and appeared to be on the verge of defeating the champion, when in the 3rd round a right hand opened a serious gash above his left eye. The cut got Lewis back into the fight as he continued to target it, his opponent's face becoming a bloody mask. It got so bad that even Klitschko's upper eyelid began to droop down into his field of vision, prompting the ring doctor to stop the fight in the 6th round.
Fight was called to a halt by the ringside doctor as Klitschko sat on his stool following round 6.
At number 1, we have Chuck Wepner versus Sonny Liston. Wepner, the guy known as the Bleeder, has a number of fights which would be good examples of gore, but the bloodiest fight I've ever seen pictures of, or stills of, that had the damage and the sheer amount of blood that is suitable for this list was Liston vs. Wepner in June of 1970 in New Jersey. It was Sonny's last fight and he gave Chuck a ferocious beating despite being at least 40 years old. In round 3, Liston had managed to open a cut just above Wepner's right eye. It was the first of 6 cuts Wepner would endure during the fight, and it literally poured blood. As the fight went on, Wepner's left eye was swollen shut by round 7. Even with blood pouring down his face, Wepner persevered. It seemed more cuts and more blood were added with every round, and the swelling got worse and worse. It wasn't until the 9th round that the ringside doctor stopped the fight because of the incredible amount of blood. Someone I knew attended that fight and told me later it was the bloodiest mess they had ever seen, and that Wepner took a terrible beating. Boxers have to be respected and honored for their spirit and dedication, especially the ones that participated in historic boxing matches. And that's our list of the top 5 bloodiest battles in boxing history. If there's one battle that comes to mind, please let us know in the comment section down below. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching.